So here, better late than never, is my September and October vlog. I spent most of September in Cornwall, which is where this glorious beach is. You can walk for miles along the headland, and the sea was still warm enough to swim in. In fact, it was between 20 and 30 degrees, the weather, the whole time we were there. And when the tide goes out, it goes out beyond those two bays. So it's an absolutely enormous beach at low tide. Some of the mornings were so beautiful. Anyway, I'm going to show you next where we stayed. It's just such a pretty house. It's an upside down house, and because the views are so nice upstairs, they've put the bedrooms downstairs, and this space is fantastic. It's just all in one, all open plan. So it's got a very pretty kitchen. And then this sort of loft style sitting and eating area, and it's just a perfect holiday place. And then it's got a deck outside where you can sit, and then the most beautiful view of the downs and the sea beyond that. And I love the way they've done the colours with this sort of duck egg blue, this crushed velvet sofa, splashes of pink, and then blue vase and glassware, distressed furniture. Just think it's really nicely done, and I love these footstools in front of all the chairs. Big mirrors, oversized mirrors everywhere. And this seating area is great as well. Tractor working outside. But in the spring, this field is just filled with red poppies, and there's not a house to be seen as you look out. I'm really loving it. So we come to Cornwall every summer. We're a bit later this year than normal, and our life is very simple, just walking the dogs morning and evening, and spending time sitting on the cliffs reading and swimming and surfing, and just really lovely times. And we were so lucky this year because the weather was out of this world. And in the evening, we can walk just a couple of 100 yards to a fabulous restaurant with great views, and sit outside with the dogs and eat and drink and walk home again, stumble home again. But lovely sunsets we had this year too. And this is a natural swimming pool in the rocks which we've discovered, and it's the most wonderful place just to jump off the rocks into the sea and have a really sheltered swim. Cornwall is also full of little fishing villages like this. This is Padstow, which has some of the best seafood restaurants, and it's again another sheltered harbour. Very popular now actually, but it used to be far less busy than it is now, about 20 years ago. And across the water on the other side of the estuary is Rock, which is quite a trendy little village where Princes William and Harry used to go when they were younger, and it's got a whole bunch of really good fish restaurants as well. When the tide is out, you can walk across the estuary. The tide goes right out, and there's just sand between where I'm standing now and the village on the other side. Padstow is still very much a working harbour as well, with daily fish catches coming in, as you can see here, big docks. We were lucky enough to get a table at Rick Stein's seafood restaurant. This was the restaurant he established, many years ago now. My daughter snapped me coming across the road. But it's Cornwall's wild beauty that I love the most. This is a typical example. It was just stunning. And it was exactly this kind of beauty that inspired the Poldark novels by Winston Graham. I don't know if you know them, but they're all set on the rugged coast of Cornwall. And this is the house he had in mind for the manor house of Trenwith when he wrote the first Poldark novel. In fact, he was offered this house at a price of £15,000 just after the Second World War. Can you believe it? It's such a beautiful Elizabethan manor house, dating from the 16th century, most of it. And I was lucky enough to come here on quite a rainy day, and there didn't seem to be that many people going through, so I had the place more or less to myself. This is the drawing room, and this is the picture gallery, quite a small picture gallery, because it's not a very big house, but it's just has such a gorgeous feel, and it's so beautifully decorated and furnished. The chimney piece in the Great Hall. The good weather soon returned, though, luckily enough, and we had the most wonderful pub lunches too. This is the Cornish Arms, also owned and run by Rick Stein, in the cutest village with the most gorgeous 10th century church. No, sorry, 11th century church. So back to more gratuitous films of the sea, which I can't get enough of. We were here in Cornwall for almost a month and were very lucky to be able to spend such a long time unwinding, which I find the sea does. And towards the end of our stay, the seas got quite rough as well, which were just fascinating to watch. Could sit and watch them for hours. Then in September also, one of our horses won the French National Championship, which was a great thrill, with Jessica Michel Bouton, the French Olympic athlete. We were absolutely delighted. This, believe it or not, is England in October. We had hot sunshine and clear skies, and I took my mother to Norfolk, which is the exact opposite side of the country to Cornwall. This is Ely Cathedral in Cambridgeshire. We were en route. We stopped en route. And if you ever want to see a monastic estate from the medieval times, which is pretty much as it was, give or take a few of Henry VIII's atrocities, then come to Ely. It is the most magnificent cathedral and has the most incredible roof and stained glass and the most beautiful little village as well. It's called the Ship of the Fens because it sticks up above the fens and you can see it from miles away as you approach Ely. It does seem to sail across the fens, which of course before they were drained in the 17th century were marshland. It has the most incredible interior. It's long and painted and very beautiful. So this is where we were headed for. It's called Wells Next the Sea, and it's a small village on the easternmost tip of England. You can't get any more east than this, and it's remarkably flat in comparison to Cornwall, which is all those rugged cliffs. You have to walk a little way to actually get to the sea, but then you find these gorgeous higgledy-piggledy beach huts, all different colours and very pretty. It too is a fishing village, and at night it's amazing as all the boats come in with the catch. And it's surrounded by marshland and nature preserves full of nesting birds and wading birds, and samphire grows here, that salty, delicious vegetable that's served with fish a lot. It's an amazing part of England, and I'm so glad to have discovered it. Wells Next the Sea is also next to Holkham, which is one of England's principal country houses, has phenomenal architecture, and it was a wonderful chance to explore this as well. It also has fantastic walled garden. I think it's a 6-acre walled garden, which supplies produce, vegetables and fruit for this fantastic restaurant called the Victoria Inn on the Holkham estate. You can also stay there. It has lovely bedrooms. Anyway, here is the walled garden I was talking about. It's very impressive, and on a day like the day we saw it, it was blissfully warm and just the most beautiful place to walk through. This is the vineyard, which is laid out in a star pattern. So pretty, so much creativity goes into maintaining a place like this. And this is Sandringham, which I think was the highlight of our trip. It's the place the Queen goes at Christmas. It was acquired by Edward VII, who brought it into the family, and it was much loved by his son and grandson, the two Georges, and is now, of course, inherited privately by the Queen. I just had the most amazing feeling walking around it, of looking at places that the Queen knows so well and walking into places where she goes and sitting where perhaps she sits. This summer house, for example, overlooking the lake with its own mini waterfall, is just so pretty. We also went round the house, but you're not allowed to take any pictures at all inside the house, which I don't blame the Queen for, and it's full of personal gifts that she's received from dignitaries and friends and important people around the world, and it is the most amazing place. I highly recommend it if you have the chance to go. It has a very intimate feel. You only get to see the ground floor, but it's really worthwhile. Then we went to Sandringham Church, or the Church of St Mary Magdalene, which is just a joy. That was me standing in the famous porch where the royal family always stands on Christmas Day. And the altar is solid silver, as is the pulpit, donated by an American admirer of Queen Alexandra, the wife of Edward VII. And this seat right there behind the ministering angel is where the Queen sits on Christmas Day. Anyway, safe to say we saw so much on this trip, and if I included it all, you would be bored stiff. But I did think I would include this one last house, which is England's finest Elizabethan house. It is Burley House, and it belonged to Lord Cecil, who was a highly senior minister to Queen Elizabeth I in the 16th century. I think he was first Lord of the Treasury, or Chancellor as we would call it now, head of finance, and it is incredibly fine. It's a palace, basically. Anyway, we had a wonderful time, and I hope I haven't included too much or dwelt on things for too long, but I am doing this channel as a vlog for me as well, as it's a way of really looking into what I've been doing and really appreciating it and reliving the experience. So thank you for sharing this with me, and thank you for your time in watching this. And if you're planning a trip to the UK, maybe it will give you some ideas about where you could spend some time. Anyway, I will see you again very soon, and until then, take great care. Bye.